Hello, I'm Governor Jeb Bush, and I want to welcome you to Florida State Parks, the real Florida. Our more than 150 state parks exist to provide our citizens outstanding recreational opportunities and to protect a part of Florida for future generations to enjoy. Please join me as we explore some of our unique state parks. And you can do your part in protecting these valuable resources by remembering to take only photographs and leave only footprints. Thank you.
We call it the real Florida. It's the Florida that was always here, before the big cities and theme parks. It's the lush green lands and looking glass waters, the way the Native Americans knew them. It's the timeless Florida that too few visitors to the state find time to see and feel.
Hello, I'm Boyd Matson, host of National Geographic Explorer. On our show, we're always looking for those places that have a unique environment, spectacular scenery, and abundant wildlife. That's why we spend so much time in Florida at the state parks, because they have got all of that.
The real Florida is our spectacular system of state parks, the richest and most varied in the nation. Florida parks are places for exploring, for learning, for communing with nature, for reliving history, and for recreation, at whatever pace you prefer. In all, there are more than 150 Florida state parks, covering more than 500,000 acres, and the system is still growing. As many as 14.5 million Floridians and visitors enjoy them in a single year. In Florida, nature decks out in countless different cuts and colors, and in the state parks, all are on display. The range of natural features and life zones is enormous. Rivers, springs, and lakes, unspoiled, uncluttered beaches, piney flatwoods, the cool twilight of a cypress swamp, surprising hills along the central ridge of the state, the stained glass colors of a coral reef. Wildlife is abundant, and several endangered species like the Florida panther, gopher tortoise, and manatee find refuge in the parks. Florida has more species of plants than any other state. The parks protect many endangered plants and include dazzling botanical sites like the Maclay State Gardens. Florida state parks also conserve the culture of the state. They show how Florida fits into America. For example, at a Lusty Battlefield State Historic Site, reenactments bring to life the war that nearly tore the nation apart. And they show how Florida's present and future are constructed on its past, a legacy that should never, must never be lost. At Crystal River State Archaeological Site, visitors wonder at the earthen temple mounds of people who preceded us in Florida by almost 1,000 years. The Stephen Foster State Folk Culture Center sustains a vital strain of our musical heritage while fostering present-day folk arts and crafts. The immigrant culture of the famous little cigar capital of the world is celebrated at the Ybor City State Museum. And the Cracker-style home of Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings gives a pungent taste of backwoods life in Depression-era Florida. Florida state parks are fun places, encouraging a wide variety of resource-based recreation, consistent with protecting natural and cultural features. Beaches by the dozen, snorkeling in clear, sweet waters of Rainbow Springs State Park, the whisper of a paddle at Wekiwa Springs, fishing, camping, hiking, biking, boating, and bird watching are all available in park after park. A recent study of the best beaches in America found 7 of the top 20 in Florida's state parks. These beaches were rated on natural quality as well as recreational value. Environmental education is an important part of Florida State Parks, too. Through the Partnership Program, a joint effort of the Department of Environmental Protection and Florida elementary and secondary schools, students have the opportunity to provide service in parks and participate in environmental education through hands-on learning experiences that supplement classroom instruction.
This wonderful group of children are an example of Florida's commitment to environmental education, and it's one of the reasons why I'm such a big supporter of the Florida State Parks. Experiences like this teach our kids how to take care of Florida's precious natural resources, and it also teaches them how to be good environmental stewards.
At MacArthur Beach State Park, high school students find out how these homely mudflats serve as nursery for much of the marine life on the high seas. Last year, the Partnership Program successfully matched nearly 5,000 students representing 45 of Florida's elementary, middle, and high schools with 34 state parks. Because of growing needs for protection, recreation, and education, the state of Florida continues to acquire new lands. Through just one of its acquisition programs, Preservation 2000, Florida has preserved 1 million acres since 1990. 46 of the properties acquired are now managed by the Florida Park Service. The recently acquired Kissimmee Prairie in Central Florida is an example of dry prairie, a globally threatened habitat. Just as it keeps its historical sites authentic, faithful to their eras, the Park Service strives to restore its natural areas to their condition when the first Europeans arrived. Invasive exotic plants and animals are removed. Prescribed burning is used to keep fire-dependent plant communities at the desired stage of ecological succession. Florida parks could not do nearly all they do without the dedication of individual citizens, people who just plain love their parks. More than 60 parks are served by their own CSOs, citizen support organizations.
Volunteers, of which there are 5,000 in our state parks, have a philosophy of life that is not unique, but it is very purposeful. And that is, you earn a living by what you get, and you earn a life by what you give.
5,000 volunteers now work nearly 700,000 hours per year, the equivalent of 331 full-time employees. The Park Service welcomes anyone who's willing and able to help, whether the task is greeting the public, piloting a tour boat, or serving as an interpretive naturalist. A creative new program called Partnership in Parks has made it possible to build this wildlife walk at Homosassa Springs State Wildlife Park. It's an elevated walkway where visitors can meet rescued birds of prey and other wild creatures.
She can't be released back out into the wild because she is surgically altered. And all the animals that you're going to see here today have something wrong with them. They all have their own little stories to tell. All the birds that you're going to see can't fly. They're all injured in the wild. Once they get a piece of wing broken off or shot off or...
To build it, the state provided 40% of the funding to match 60% raised by the park's CSO, Friends of Homosassa Springs Wildlife Park. Florida's Partnership in Parks is the first program of its kind in any state park system, and more than $1 million in additional projects are underway. The aim of the statewide support group, the Friends of Florida State Parks, is to preserve and promote the parks. It publishes a magazine, The Real Florida, to showcase the parks to the public. The parks have also been given assistance from the AmeriCorps Community Services Program. Our 70 AmeriCorps workers have done everything from building playgrounds to constructing new facilities to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. A wide variety of overnight accommodations are available to visitors of Florida state parks. The quietly elegant historic lodge at Wakulla Springs State Park is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Not only do state park facilities improve the quality of life for nearby communities, parks also benefit local economies. The Tallahassee-St. Mark's Historic Railroad State Trail, a 16-mile improved trail for hikers, cyclists, and horseback riders, has brought $2 million to the area annually. Our Florida State Park system performs a delicate balancing act between preservation and recreation. We have found new ways to allow and encourage responsible use of our parks while improving the health of lands and waters. Florida takes the national lead in this effort with its ecotourism initiative.
As we move into the 21st century, our state parks are going to be more important than ever because ecotourism is the fastest growing sector of tourism in this country, and it's something that is going to be so reflected through our state parks, our national parks, and even our local parks. It really is a critical role that state parks will play in the future, and we're so excited about being a leader in ecotourism. The things that we've done in Florida, being the first state park system to have an ecotourism office, as well as being able to provide so many ecotourism partnerships, is something that I think is going to set Florida State Parks way ahead as we move into the 21st century. We want our children's children to be able to enjoy Florida State Parks and know what a great state park system they have.